Hi everybody, welcome to Genio Roasters, and today we have Gegrond, Frederik and Pieter from Gegrond, who actually won the 2021 A Shot in the Dark Coffee Roasting Championship. So we welcome to you guys. Thank you very much for joining us today. Frederik and Pieter, tell us a little bit about how it is that you came to win A Shot in the Dark. Just tell us the story in a couple of sentences.
Well, yeah, Neil, thanks for giving us the opportunity to engage you guys today and to briefly tell a bit about our story. I think Frederik would agree. A part of it came down to negotiation skills. Frederik, I think that would have been probably one of the key considerations. But I think Frederik has a big passion for roasting, so he'll probably be able to take you through that process of making the decision to enter for A Shot in the Dark.
Yeah, that must have been a big decision for you you started in 2021. That's when you got your roaster, am I right?
Yeah, we started roasting our own coffee in September 2019. But the roaster that we had back then was nothing close to a Genio. I mean, it's like comparing a Nokia 3310 to a new Samsung. Not that the Genio breaks easier, but it just gives you so much more capabilities. So we've had that experience, but in March this year we received a Genio, and I think one of the main reasons we decided to enter A Shot in the Dark was firstly we could negotiate with George to include it in our package when buying the roaster, but secondly a good platform where we can test our skills and specifically like force us to have a really steep learning curve with the new technology that we did not know anything about.
Yes, it's sort of setting yourselves a goal to achieve, and there's no getting out of it. You have no way other than up, no direction other than up. So congratulations to you guys. I mean, going from starting off with a concept, with a dream, turning it into a coffee shop, starting with a small roaster and then upgrading to a bigger roaster and entering Shot in the Dark straight away, and then winning it in the first year that you competed. That's such a huge achievement. And actually, the preceding years were won by guys who've been in the industry for many, many years. And along comes you guys and blows us away with incredible coffee. I was lucky enough to actually order some of your final entry coffee. I think it was the weekend before Creative Coffee Week. And I'm sure I'm one of the first guys to actually, outside of your own circle, to actually taste your entry coffees. And I paid for it, let it be known. And it was phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal. And you absolutely deserve that win. So how did it come about? What did you do? Did you do something different? Did you just sort of go with the flow with what you do on a daily basis? Did you change anything with regards to your standard roast profiles to actually get to the winning combination?
I'd say it's quite different from how we roast normally. I mean, it's difficult to actually bring this kind of competition roasting into your day-to-day roasting. Obviously, there's always the same thing of improving your quality, and that will always stay there. But think of you roast a coffee. We started off by reading obviously a lot on the coffees and how to roast them specifically, and then starting off a free roast, you try different roast profiles, and then you cup them a few days later, and then you see, okay, well, this one's like this one has less body, this one has more body, this one has more acidity. What's the difference, and where do we think it comes from? And then to amend it to bring the free profiles together to create like almost a hybrid profile, which would have the best of each of the three, and then roasting 3 or 4 different roasts. That's all of them different, but with certain things in mind, and then go back to the drawing board, tasting them, seeing what's the difference, and then coming back and then roasting even the last round, all of them differently. But every time you just bring everything that you learned back into the roast, and then you just choose the one that stands out the most. So I'd say it's with roasting, it is like the competition says, it's a shot in the dark. You can really hit that perfect development of the bean, or you can miss it with a second or two. It changes so quickly. And with our day-to-day roasting, you go through the same process, and you kind of have a way that you roast every coffee a bit differently. But hitting, I'd say you have like a small range that you always aim for, because you won't ever get the exact same roast because of external factors like the bean temperature that you put inside, or humidity and all of those things. But I'd say it was a really good way to learn how to keep on improving and build on your day-to-day profiles. But it's something that you would do maybe once or twice for a certain coffee, and then hopefully you wouldn't need to do it again, but you'll always just need to check the quality. We try to send the freshest coffee because we always feel the freshest is best, even though development a week or two later on could be really phenomenal, maybe even better. But what I experienced was, especially with the second round of coffees that we did, one of the coffees stood out really a lot, and it was so complex, and I would have loved to send that one. But then we roasted again, 4 different roasts, and when we cupped everything together, I brought all the best ones from the previous roast and we cupped all of them against each other, and then that one just lost complexity, and it wasn't as good as it was before, and one of the new ones stood out. So I mean, a day or two before you submit, you go with the best one.
Were you very mindful of the entry date or the cupping date that the judges actually tasted the coffee? Was that a big consideration in your roasting times and your entry times and everything?
No, the last roast, in both sessions we submitted in both rounds we submitted the coffees that we roasted the last time, and that was basically roasted 3 or 4 days ahead of the last day that we could cup. So if submission was on the Tuesday, we would cup on the Monday, and then minus 3 days. So probably on the Friday we would have roasted the coffee. So that's kind of how we went with it. But I think choosing the one that we wanted to submit was, obviously it's based on the last cupping. And there we brought Marius from Mason Brewing Company, and he has a really good palate, so he helped us just to identify, distinguish between the lot, and just help build the profile that we're looking for. And especially in the second round, Pieter, we sent him some coffee. That was one of the challenging things, was to get coffee to Ireland. So when we were doing it this side, we tried different blends, of course, but in the end, it was Pieter's blend that actually stood out and went to the finals.
Well, that's so awesome. So just to give a little context, Pieter, you're sitting out in Ireland, and Frederik is obviously in South Africa. So the two of you are business partners in this venture called Gegrond. So Pieter, you must have been quite excited to get these coffees in the mail.
Yeah, no, I must say, like, the mail took the form of an expat with KLM, and we were quite lucky to convince them, for a few bags of coffee, can you maybe bring along, some of the shot and dark coffees that Frederik and the team back in SA did. And it was actually great to be involved in the process. Logistically, it's always been a bit of a challenge. So you're always at the back end of tasting the coffees. But I mean, you're always curious to know how things turn out, and to be as involved as you possibly can in that process. So no, it was great to get a few of those coffees across the side.
Okay, and Nicodemus, the head judge from Seven Oaks, gave a little video at some point where he said the sort of cheat sheet to winning a shot in the dark is to use the cupping sheets that they actually use, and to cup your coffees against that, and to use that as a baseline. Did you actually go and do that? Did you actually use the cupping sheets to cup your coffees on, or did you use your own intuition and your own cupping procedure?
I think largely for if I have 2 cents to work, we had this roast book, the Book of Roast, and we've developed in the last year or two, we've developed our own little cupping type of not system but it's more like the descriptive words, because I guess that's one of the challenges is always getting the right lingo to go with the description. Each palate, especially being in Ireland, people describe tastes and aromas and body feel a bit differently depending on region. So, we've as a company, we've set this standard of, referring to this Book of Roast, and, that's primarily how we communicate, and we follow the processes through that Book of Roast.
But that's an important factor, is being able to speak the same language, because if, so often we speak or we are referring to the same flavor, but using a completely different descriptor. So it's I'm sure it's important to you guys, being in such a different context, that you actually use the same descriptor. So that's actually a nice way of doing it between the two of you, is having one set of sort of reference material and referring to that when you have a chat to each other, just so that you are on the same level. Gegrond means grounded, it means earth, but there's also sort of a context to ground coffee. It's a difficult kind of word to translate to English. Have you had to explain this to an English-speaking person?
I think, the most usual thing that we find is people automatically try to pronounce it as an English word, and that doesn't go down very well. Gegrond is the go-to.
And I'm sure they have no idea what it means. Okay, but so what does Gegrond mean to you?
We've always said we want to stick to our roots, and we've heavily debated what that means to us, and being from an Afrikaans background, and being raised in South Africa, we thought we would like something quite authentic that we can easily relate with, and that means twofold. It means that what we relate with as a brand, meaning like what do we want to stand for, but then on the flip side, we also want to relate that to who we are as individual persons as well. So the Gegrond is obviously it reminds us of being outdoors, being rooted, and well vested in what your principles in life are, so, and well defined in terms of what that means to you. And then we had a few discussions in terms of do we stick with Afrikaans, do we go to English, and it actually is a good discussion point, and it's always like a good starter when someone tries to pronounce Gegrond, especially here in Ireland. Like it's definitely been a good conversation starter.
Okay, but there's something else that brings the two of you together, and that's adventure and outdoor sports. So is that something that you share, that passion that the two of you share?
Yeah, I think like me and Frederik, we've gone through quite a bit of adventures together. I think our friendship, before even starting a business, our friendship started on the trails and being outdoors, and runs in the Golden Gate, which actually I have one of the shirts on today, which we got at the Golden Gate 3-day stage on there, and that's essentially how our friendship started, and it's obviously core to from a business point of view, what we resemble, and what we're passionate about outside of coffee.
Okay, and what does the future hold for Gegrond now that you've topped the roasting competitions in South Africa, and you've started growing your business, and you already have an international audience, in that Pieter is in Ireland, and you perhaps have the perfect platform to spread your business to the world. What's the plan? How do you take this to the next level?
One of the most exciting ones for us that's on the horizon is the possibilities of a coffee shop in Menlo Park soon. So we're hoping for that to come through, but it might still be a little while. And then we're working on a platform for business to business that's, I think, will really change the way roasteries and coffee shops and roasteries and offices interact, and the way that we support each other. So that's kind of I think maybe I just don't know of anyone else that's doing it, but it's it would be new to the industry as far as we know. So we're quite excited about that, and we're hoping to launch that also quite soon, hopefully early next year.
Tell me a little bit about the Gegrond team. Who's part of the team, and who does what in the company?
I guess it's a bit of luck as well, because each of us brings to the team a different set of skills. Frederik himself being in the hospitality industry, having spent some time at Hazeldean Brewery, and he's been in that industry where Leonard, who is also he's the roaster, but he also has a great range of skills when it comes to the IT and our website and the platform, and that's obviously been fundamental towards the e-commerce scene, which is a big part of our business. And like you said, when COVID hit, he's been front, mid, and center to get the website up and streamlined and make sure that's of high quality. So it's just the different sets of skills which eventually we all fill one another in different aspects. It's actually quite astonishing how things just eventually turned out in regards to how each of us contributes differently.
Is the winning title of the Shop in the Dark something that you can use in your branding going forward?
We got these stickers that we can apply to our packaging just to stand out a bit more, and to let everyone know that they're actually drinking good coffee. I think it's definitely something that needs some work. There's a lot of people out there that doesn't know about Shop in the Dark yet, but it's a general. I mean, it's people that we want to. You need to teach them about coffee, and if they see that, okay, cool, well, there's a sticker on this thing, then maybe it will prompt them to go and look for it and learn about it. That's what makes it special for me with the Shot in the Dark, is the thing that there's just 3 winners and 3 people, a gold, a bronze, and a silver, that can put it on. It just makes it so much more impactful.
Yeah, it's a little exclusive club for that year, but I think it's as much up to us, Genio Roasters, as the main sponsor, and Mel and Ian from the Coffee Mag, and you guys being amongst the top 3. It's sort of a partnership to promote that and to make it as much as it possibly can be. But to reach the people who actually drink the coffee and appreciate it for what it can be and what it is, that's up to you guys. And I think you're doing a phenomenal job so far. And I wish you all the best for the year that lies ahead. And we really look forward to the new platform that you're building. I hope that you will give us another little exclusive when it does run, or when it does get off the ground.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks for the opportunity, and we also wish you all the best. And we will definitely be advocates of your product, no matter where we are. So thanks.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a lovely day, and we hope to find your coffees in the shops very soon.